go back and do some commentary this year? Next year?
I mean, I'm open for anything to help the team. So
what was that like?
When we were doing the broadcasting of the Fuego PDL season, it was fun. It was fun. Yeah. I mean, the good thing is CMAC had all the setup for us to just get in it and go, and so I stepped in just because I knew the players the best, and was able to give some background and history and where they came from. And
what was the partner's name?
Oh gosh, man, I knew you were going to ask me that. I feel horrible not just rattling this off.
No,
but,
it'll come to you. Man, that was fun though.
Good,
I mean,
dude, he was so much fun.
Yeah.
He was really good.
I mean, how many PDL teams were having a live broadcast with a local broadcaster and live streaming it?
Yeah, not many.
That was dope.
Yeah, it was good. And what's funny is we engaged Sunnyside High School, and the high school students were the ones that were doing the filming. Mm-hmm. So CMAC set everything up. We paid them a very reasonable rate.
And they're a local nonprofit that deals a lot with teaching people how to be videographers, in a media world.
So they would connect with the high school students. The students would come out and do the filming, and then we would get on the mic and
then we get the pros. We'd get the pros on the commentary. What was the famous one?
I can't remember. I was wearing sunglasses on the show. Ask Jordan Weeby. He knows. He gave me the hardest time.
Fuego. What did he say?
Oh
man, there's something. The squad's gonna kill us.
My brain works anymore the way it should.
I know. I've lost all memory.
There are so many things that would happen and
was that what it was?
That was one of them. He was good. You got to go back. They're still on YouTube. If you look up
man, we got to pull some of that content. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, man. It's humor. It is humor.
Dude, so Jeremy Schultz on El Show, thank you for joining us. I mean, your brother, your big brother, older family member. Man, you're the man. Thanks for coming on.
Dude, you're the man. I appreciate you having me, and for me, it's like this is just it's emotional to know that Fuego's coming back. I think there's a lot of us that put a lot of energy into trying to make sure that this thing was what we had dreamed it to be, and I'm just thankful for you as a community leader to take the bull by the horns and bring it back. The Ruelas family is. If they don't know, there is a huge pocket of people in this community throughout the whole valley that are just so grateful for the investment of what they're doing and bringing Fuego back to our community. It is more rooted, I think, than people realize. Especially in the direct soccer community. Just go visit a soccer complex anywhere in this valley. On a Saturday or Sunday, and you're going to run into people that are working in the game, coaching youth that have worn the jersey over their heart or worn the crest over their heart and have blood for this club. So,
well, I mean, it wouldn't be here without your leadership and your guidance. And you're a big, huge mentor to me in my life. And I think would not have necessarily got
cut.
You'll repeat that question. A little bit
way off.
Yeah.
Feel free on just to jump in the middle of it and say hey, move the mic closer to your mouth.
Yeah, it's because you guys don't have a headset, so you can't hear me.
No, we can't.
Yeah. So.
Because you talk quietly. Oh, did you say it? You can talk it. You say it out loud.
Yeah, but all right, one more time. So you have a question right there, so it's a good one.
What did I ask?
You said you are a.
Oh, okay. So you just missed once I started talking. Did you get all of his stuff?
Finished. Got it. Yep.
Okay.
So right. I'm gonna take you from where you're at 3 to.
I mean, we have this technical difficulty issue right as I'm getting sentimental with you.
Bring those emotions back, Chris.
Yeah, bring it back. No, but what I was gonna say is, I mean, you've been a huge mentor in my life, and I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without you, and this club wouldn't be where it's at without your guidance. I mean, you think about where the Fuego was originally and building this really rich tradition and history and pride in the community, bouncing all over the place to all these different sites, playing wherever the hell they could. And then the team ends up moving over to Chancey Park. They hire you to be the general manager from the youth scene. You've been a previous pro playing in this league before and professionally. I mean, there wasn't a better choice out there, for the Fuego. And you, I think, without doubt took this club to a professional standard on and off the field in terms of business. And I mean, like I said, it wouldn't be here without you.
I appreciate that, but I can clearly and confidently say that I was just blessed and fortunate to be chosen to help lead, but it's all the people around me that, were doing so much of the work. And I say that this club has been built on the backs of the soccer community. There's a rich tradition of talent here and pride in who we are as a valley. And without that community support and without the people that have put in the years of work before me and taught me, this wouldn't have happened. And I'll say this about you, Chris, like, when did you come? You came in like 2012, probably
2012.
11, 12, something like that.
Intern in 11, hired on in 12.
Yeah. So I remember you were working with the Grizzlies, and I started as a GM in April of 2008 when we were in Chuck Chansey Park, and John Toole was working with the group, and a lot of the Falcons staff were helping, and then the Falcons had went away that December of 2008, and we were kind of in a situation like it was myself, Jacob Ice, and Fabricio that were front office.
Shout
and
out to those two.
Fabricio actually still played, was our best player on the pitch. So come game day, it was just Jacob and I, and we would kind of trade off doing MC on the field, and the Grizzly staff would step in and help out, and it wouldn't have been possible to operate these games without the Grizz. Some who liked soccer and the fact that we were there, and others who, didn't necessarily want to work another day of event at the stadium after, an 8-game baseball homestand and things like that. But they always stepped up and really made the production of what we were doing really well. And then when you came in 2011, 2012, I think you were just a young, eager, professional that was kind of trying to find your way in the sports scene. And I felt that passion from you that you came in on the baseball side, but there was something about you that you were drawn to soccer. I think there was a cultural connection of pride in Fresno and our valley, and you were local and you were homegrown, and a lot of our vibe around Fuego was we were local, and we were trying to create something that the valley would be proud of, and you embraced that. And I think very quickly you were someone that I leaned on personally, like maybe over time in those next year and a half, 2 years, I was never able to necessarily name an assistant GM with me, but you were definitely that guy. When you went from your role in more of the community relations capacity into more of an operational role with the stadium, I leaned on you heavy, man. I remember at one point I'm like, okay, can you run the meetings with the staff, and you grabbed it and took off and ran. And for me, that was like one thing off my list that I didn't have to worry about, and was just a huge relief for me. So I'm indebted to you and so grateful for your presence in, the 2008 to 2018, scope of work that we did in Chuck Chansey Park with soccer. And I mean, you start thinking about things. The Cummings family, the Cummings family was the family that worked with the Alvarez and the Marquez family to bring Fuego to Chuck Chansey Park. They own the Grizzlies, and so to me that elevated the presentation of professional soccer. Right,
playing in a big league ballpark, basically.
Absolutely. And it wasn't like, for the soccer purists out there, it wasn't great, but you know what? You have to make the best out of what opportunities in front of you, and I think our community responded well. We played left to right field on a field that was 104 yards long, and
it was funky,
and like 60 yards wide, which we had to get exemptions from U.S. Soccer to even play on that field that way.
Man, and you think about two things that come to mind quickly on all those years. It's like we had a very dynamic, crafty, speedy kind of team that wasn't like probably suited for that. Like, I remember a lot of times the years we'd be better on the road than we were at home. I mean, every year was successful, but it's like our style was not suited for that small pitch.
Yeah. I mean, here's what's crazy is we always had very technical players. I mean, our rosters were built off of 85% to 90% local players, which is what we wanted. We ended up providing housing for players come think it was about 2012-ish, maybe a little bit later, but we started offering basically 2 to 3 apartments a year, and we'd put 2 players per room. And so we started bringing in 6, 8. I think our highest point was like 10 players, and that really complemented the local base. But you know, and tons of respect to those players that came in, because I think that part of that selection process was not just like you could compete on the field at a high level and bring the level of the group up, but it was also embracing the Valley and making sure that you weren't someone that was going to come in from outside the area and not be proud of Fresno and who we are. And you almost had to have a blue collar mentality and a chip on your shoulder. And,
players bought into that, though. I mean, you look at guys like Etty, Cyprian, Nick Moon, like some of these guys, like they come in and they take a lot of pride in the time that they spent with Fuego.
No doubt. And what's funny is I think that a lot of those players, I mean, those 3 specifically that you just named, all were professionals. I mean, Nick is playing in Indy with Indy 11. Sip was drafted by Sporting KC and had a long USL career with a number of different teams. Etty played with Real Salt Lake, the USL, not the MLS team, but the USL team before he came in. And all of them, I think, walked away with the fact that even if Fuego was an amateur league and in the what used to be the PDL, now USL 2, we always ran things professionally, and that was super important to us. We always felt like the players were the best marketing tool that we had when it came to recruiting other players. And so if those players that came in left and went back to their respective colleges or wherever, you know, their home was, we wanted them to give this aura of Fuego as a pro team. Like they play in an amateur league, but they're professional. They take care of their players. They're very player-centric in terms of making sure that they're taken care of in the community, taking
the
care of the
fans show
travel,
up at games, people
stuff.
love them.
Absolutely. And I think that
I remember a quick story where Sergi was playing. I want to say, was it at Duke or I think he went to 2 different schools.
He went to Virginia
back
and
east.
then he went to Duke.
Might have been Virginia first, but anyways, he was going into his season in college, and the college season always kind of overlapped a little bit with playoffs.
Yep.
And I remember him like begging to stay and play in the playoffs for the Fuego, and not start his like junior or senior year of college at a huge university. Like I mean, that's how much it meant to him. Was like, I want to finish this out with this group of guys. You know?
Yeah. And that made, you know, us as a staff feel good about what we were doing. And you're spot on. I mean, ultimately, the colleges invest, even though they can't pay. You know, these kids are on scholarship and they're getting their school paid for, and that's an investment by them. And so some college coaches really embrace the fact that these athletes get, you know, 16 games in a summer window where they're continuing to compete, stay sharp, stay fit, all those things. And then there's other coaches that are like, you know, I don't want you to get injured. I'm concerned about the level of play, all those things, which I understand both sides of that coin. But Fuego always tried to do a good job of communicating with the coaches, whatever programs these players were coming in from, because we felt like it was an avenue for them not only to stay sharp and fit and on top of their game, but also to be able to, you know, connect with the community and highlight the school that they were coming in from, you know? And so...
And really showcase them and give them an opportunity to play with guys that I mean, you think about like Chiva and Milton and Nini and
the Gaston Signettis.
There's a bunch of them that bounced in between pro and you know what I mean. And now you're playing on a pitch over summer with grown men that are pros.
And that was the beauty of it, because it's classified as an under 23 league. So majority of your roster has to be under 23. You could have 7 to 8 guys over 23 that kind of bounce back and forth year by year, and you could also have, you know, 7 international players. So some of those internationals aren't over 23. You can't have 7 over 23 internationals and another 7 over 23 domestic players that it worked together. But you would have these like veteran players that had good pro careers, like the Milton Blancos and the Chivas and those guys, that would still be in your roster playing for the Fuego, that were really mentors to these younger collegiate athletes that were rising stars that were going to be future pros. And so it was a really good balance. And I think the hardest part about the management of things, and I had great, coaches. Scott Alcorn I worked with for a number of years in my time as GM. It was more organizational structure with players and making sure that you were managing personalities. And you got egos involved, and you got high level athletes that want to play, and you have 11 spots to put on the field. And even if you're in the 18, you're managing all these things as a GM and a head coach, and making sure that you have buy-in from not just your starting 11, but your 24, 26 man player roster, because at any given moment, those players need to be called on and need to make an impact.
And only 18 guys get to suit up each week.
18 guys suit up, 11 are on the field, and so, we took on, I personally have always lived by the slogan of individual recognition comes from team success. And I think the better that we did as a team, the better results we got, and the farther we got in playoffs, more people wanted to know who those players were that were producing those results, and so on and so forth. But we never lost sight of the fact that we were an amateur team that was that is there and suited for development. And so I say that because there was a number of years where we would get into playoffs, and I would have pro clubs contacting me wanting to sign our players a week before we're going to playoffs. For instance, we played, gosh, I can't spout off years, but we were playing in Ventura. We had Portland Timbers U23s for the semifinal Western Conference Championship game. Abraham Campos was being courted to go to Carmel de Playa,
Mexico, right?
In Mexico. Yeah. And Paul Islas was being courted to go to
while you're thinking about what a player
Charlotte,
he
Paul
was. I mean, it's
player.
just
Loved him.
So my first few years was Paul's. When he and Tyler Reinhart were just,
at their peak.
Yeah, they're just killing it. And I mean, that guy was a fun player to watch.
Oh, so much fun. Yeah. So Paul was being courted by another professional club, and the two of them. There's a small window of opportunity for these guys.
Yeah, you got to take it when you get a chance.
You have to. And so, they wanted to compete in playoffs with us, but they still wanted to eat the cake as well and get
sign
their
a pro contract.
And so, we sit down with them and say, no, it's in your best interest to take this opportunity now, because if you don't take it now and you wait a weekend, number one, you could get injured and then the contract could be off the table. Or number two, they may go see somebody else and sign somebody else, and that may not be available anymore.
Yeah.
So
when you're a guy that they're kind of closing their roster out with, there's not a lot of opportunity.
So anyways, we lost two guys. Oh, there was another player, Alex Caceres.
Oh, okay.
He also had a contract that was on the table for him. So right before playoffs, we were having a heck of a year. We were the favorite going into
this has got to be
into the playoffs.
15, 16, somewhere around there.
And we lose three of our top players, really. Right. Paul and Alex were our top, points. They were scoring our goals and assists, and Abraham was a key player in the middle of the park. And so, but we know that going in that's what Fuego is. We're a stage to give as much exposure as we can for these players, and our goal is to move these players on to the next level. And we couldn't lose sight of that. And so no matter how much we want to get to a national final or any of those things, and we want that for everybody, we want that for our community, we want that for our staff and the other players, we also did not want to take a chance on not getting those players moved to the next level. So
sure. And you got to also think, from that perspective of that goal is that's a marketing tool to help gain players back in the future. If guys see, all right, I go play in the summer for Fuego, and three other guys just signed pro, man, they're looking at what they're doing. I want to go play there.
And that would be a conversation for me, because we would bring in some high-profile guys, that were being looked at other PDL franchises or, a lower-level pro league or whatever, and they knew if they came here, if that call was made for them to move up, they knew they could trust me that I would help them
do the right thing for them. Yeah. It's building that trust. Is there ever a player that, one that you missed on that you kick yourself over? throughout the years?
I mean, I come from playing myself, but before I jumped on with the Fuego as a GM in 2008, I come from the youth scene. So, I mean, there's 1,000 times I've made mistakes. Dude, I'm coaching a girls 2011 South Valley United team right now that I just had 19 players in our little player pool that we were training with, and I had to split the roster. I had to make 2 teams out of the roster, and it was hard because I coached the group a year before. So I had half of the kids that I coached last year that were going to be on the black roster and half of the kids that were going to be on the red roster, which myself and my co-coach are working with a black team, and then the red team is going to be a different coach. And it's hard, man. And I can tell you right now, I made decisions based on some player performance at 9 years old, at 8 and 9 years old, girls, that you look at the environment and they're slightly got strengths or weaknesses.
We talked to Nini, and I kind of, because Nini goes into in his podcast about scouting and recruiting at the collegiate level. Yeah. I mean, what are you seeing at the youth level that's the differentiators?
I mean, first of all, comfort on a ball. I mean, you have just pure athleticism at that age too, and all these kids develop at different levels. I mean, I may have 5 kids on my black roster this year that won't make it in 4 years just based on body growth, physio things, or someone that may have a little more discipline on their own time that's wanting to touch a ball for 60 minutes a day outside of the team training environment that, may come to training right now and has a heavy first touch or can't connect the 10-yard pass or what have you, but they go on their own and work and juggle and just get comfortable with the ball and maybe knock a ball with their right and left foot against the wall. And I always tell my kids the key to learning is repetition. Do it over and over and over and over again, and you're going to get better at it by default, just you and the ball. And so we could have some of those kids that have that discipline and that vision to that pursuit of excellence that they'll have for themselves, that we may see have growth over the next 12 months to 3 years, and they may slide into the top team.
For parents out there listening who see that bit of desire in their kids, maybe not even the talent yet, but what would be the best advice you could give to them to help give them the best opportunity to have have success in the sport?
Honestly, I mean, parents are key. At the youth level, parents are key, but their support has to have a balance to it, because I see it. I've been fortunate to work at every level of the game, and and that's recreational level, at the youth, competitive level at the youth, up to the professional game, and a balance of support from the parents is important. And I say that the parents are so important. There's financial responsibility. There's getting your child to and from the training facility and to games and all those things. But I also see the overwhelming pressure that parents can put on kids. And I guess every kid's a little different, and I've seen it where you have some hard pressing parents that the kids thrive on that, and that added pressure sometimes takes them to another level. And then I've seen that go over the top. And then there's kids that can't handle that. They already feel the pressure of coach trying to get more out of them than maybe they feel like they're capable of. And so I guess for parents, I just feel like they need to be sometimes that nurturing support, because the world is so it's challenging for these kids, and we live in a different world now than we did 20 years ago. But
there's a lot of information out there.
There's a pecking order that is determined or established from the kids, and the kids know it. You know what I mean? Like you can't fake someone that's just got ridiculous athleticism and talent. Like there's some God-given skills that some kids have, and there's a pecking order that happens in a roster. It happens organically and authentically, and if you nurture that as a coach or a leader, then you can get the best out of all those kids. People will they'll take on the responsibility and the role that you provide them. And as a coach, you have to make sure that you're maximizing your strengths. and so you have to have that balance as a coach, but as a parent, sometimes I think you're jaded in your perception of your own child. Sometimes, unfortunately, I have a daughter on the 2011 girls team too. I couldn't coach that team if I didn't, just based on my life right now. But it is a way for me to connect with Addison, and she loves the game. She has a huge passion for it, and she's pretty talented. And so it's hard for me sometimes because I do want to push her beyond her limits because I think that the ceiling is very high for her. But then I have to step back and kind of look from a different lens and say, okay, I am her coach. I put enough performance pressure on her as it is. I don't know how what her lens looks like when she's,
is
looking
my
at me
dad
as
a jerk?
and coach. And so I try to be very delicate in my conversations with her when we're riding in the car or when we're at the dinner table, because I don't want her to feel like she's not meeting my expectations as a young athlete. And that's hard for me sometimes.
It's hard. And I mean, for, looking at you from the outside perspective and knowing you and your family well, it's like you had two older daughters that, did their own thing. They did very different things, riding horses and running. Yeah. Like, all right, those weren't my soccer kids. Yeah. I love soccer.
I was thinking about this on the way here too, is Chloe was in, I think, first grade when I took on the Fuego GM role. So wow. she was like, what would that be, like 5 or 6 years old? Mm-hmm. Bailey was 2 or 3 years old, and Addie was born into the club in 2011. So it's all they've ever known their whole life, I
mean, Addie feels like Fuego's child.
Dude,
she's been in it since
she
came out.
All the squad chants.
Oh
she
my
talks
gosh.
about squad.
She had her own chant, Addie, Addie, Addie.
Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah, it's like,
dude, it's crazy. Like she is a soccer child, and they all were. But Chloe played with California Odyssey for a while when I was executive director there, and loved it. And I think she was more into the social aspect of being around friends, which I think youth soccer is a great platform to meet friends and travel the state and do some cool
in
things.
My opinion, and I mean, it's obviously, I came from playing sports as a kid, so this is my perspective as that. But it's like, I don't think there's any better place for a kid than on a sports team, whatever sport it is, because it's like you get that social opportunity to connect with other people. You learn how to rely on somebody else, not just yourself. And if they fail, you all fail, and if they succeed, you all succeed. And so it teaches you how to be bigger than yourself. And one of the most important things, it teaches you how to lose.
Yeah, for
sometimes,
sure.
and how to win, and how to keep yourself humbled and know I'm not the most badass in the world, and there's people better than me, and I mean, there's nothing better. So whether or not they pursue that in their entire life or become a professional athlete, I just think youth sports is so important. It's something that we cannot afford to lose.
That development, man. I it's funny because just in my role with the Fuego over time, I met some wonderful leaders in our community that work with all the different youth soccer clubs, and these directors and presidents of the clubs, they all have very good intentions. They have their core values and the things that they're trying to implement with all of the kids within their club. Whether you're a club of 5 teams and 50 kids, or you're a club of 40 teams and 1,000 kids.
But if that's the case, I mean, why do you feel like there's so many people out there who see youth soccer as just this?
Because you're
not good place.
Your experience is based solely on your coach. Mm-hmm. So even if you have like South Valley, for instance, we have about 20 teams, right? Your personal experience as a family, whether you're the player, you're a parent, whatever, is your personal experience is based on your coach, because they're the ones in the trenches with you day in and day out. South Valley, we have our core values. We have all the things that we want to be as a club. When you put that crest over your heart, this is the way we want you to act and engage in your community with respect and discipline and all these things, right? Mm-hmm. But if our coaches are acting like heathens on the sideline, and they're, parents can't yell and scream, they need to sit down, but then the coach is over there yelling and screaming and acting amok, then that experience isn't what it's supposed to be. But youth soccer, there's not a plethora of like quality. There's not a ton of people that have time to coach at that level.
Yeah.
And
what's a way that you see as a solution to that? I mean, is there one? Could this club provide an opportunity to train and develop young coaches? I mean, what's out there to make it better?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the sport in general is evolving over time. It's different now than it was 20 years ago when I was a youth player. Like, 25 years ago? Gosh, I'm going to start aging myself. But when I was a youth player, usually it was dad's coaching. Now, I say that kind of funny because I'm a dad coaching.
Yeah, but you grew up in the game. Like, my dad coached my baseball team, our baseball team, and I remember, he's like, I don't know anything about fucking baseball. I rode dirt bikes, and it was
but
cool.
He had the time, and he wanted to help. And
and he was great with
and
it.
Those people are critical in the growth of the game.
It was awesome.
But we're getting to a space now where youth club sports or youth club soccer is such that the fees are very high. Parents are paying a lot of money to get quote unquote professional training. And if you can't provide that, whether it's a perception thing or you're just incredibly organized, then people don't feel like there's value there. And so I think that we are finding that there is more people that are educated in the game, whether they've played at a high level or not. They're more educated now because they're fans and there's more soccer to watch now. And there's this like evolution of
the game in general. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It goes from people who are trying but they don't really know, into like the kids that grow up playing the sport but maybe haven't been taught perfectly correct.
Yeah.
And now they're the coaches, and it kind of keeps cycling to now it's like you've got experts from youth all the way up to the coaching ranks. Mm-hmm. So that kind of leads me into something I wanted to talk about is USA Soccer. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, we're talking about development, we're talking about coaching, we're talking about this generational shift. Yeah, and we see, we hope our young players are going to be our best crop of players that we've ever had because of that evolution. Yep. So why the hell is that not seemingly happening?
First of all, we're a massive country, and I think that U.S. Soccer has been through a number of different, I don't want to call them guinea pig programs, but we've tried so many different ways to identify the best players. And here's the thing, man, we could probably go into any state and put a team together, and if you kept them together long enough, they're going to be just as good as, a youth national team selection based on a camp or what have you. Mm-hmm. So we have some challenges ahead of us. Now, if we're referencing the fact that we didn't make the Olympics, that's
the World Cup, the last World Cup.
I have my own kind of, we have. I think our almost majority of our full men's national team that played Northern Ireland was under 23. If you start thinking about Pulisic and McKinney, and
so a lot of our top under 23 players aren't playing for the Olympic team
qualifying, and I feel pretty good about the fact that we're gonna get through, but. I don't want to downplay the Olympics, because I think anytime you can put your national team or your national players in a competition that you're playing for something, it's important. And so it's a big fail on our end as soccer leaders in this country that we did not get into the Olympics. It's a bad deal. And you think about our community in general. Chad McCarty was a U.S. Olympian. They lost the third place game, the bronze medal game. You're going to tell me a guy like that, Chad, who's built a legacy for soccer in our community, is not just probably irate over the fact that we didn't put a team in the Olympics again? I'm sure if you ask him, it's probably one of the best experiences of his life as a soccer player. And he's played for our full national team. He's played in the MLS. He's a full-fledged professional, and I don't want to lose sight of the importance of the fact that we didn't get in. But when I look at the fact that we have under 23s playing on our full national team, getting results and doing well, I mean, some of those players are some of the best players that we've ever had in our country to put the jersey on. So.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm really excited about that too. I watched the Jamaica game back early, this weekend or something. And there's some impressive players there. I mean, having Pulisic out wide and now Dest plays like behind him. A lot of times you'd see these two top class players, Chelsea and Barcelona. But they started kind of
interchange a little bit.
But they kind of jammed up some space because they were both in similar spots all the time. Yeah. But they had similar ideas, I think. And so you see a lot of these young players playing at the senior team, and it's just I'm very excited about what's coming with this group of players.
I am too. I mean, I think that we talk about comfort on a ball with the youth, with our youth in the Valley, and you look at Christian Pulisic and what he does with the ball and how he is so confident in receiving and turning and facing a defender up and not being scared to go at someone. And he's playing against the best players in the world. And his technical ability to play out of tight spaces is special, And I think that the more of those types of players we can develop in our country, the better off we're going to be as a whole. Now, you can't have 10 number 10s on the field. You got to have a balance of different types of players to blend it and find the chemistry to be successful. But I think he's a special player, and I think that if we can continue to focus on some of that technical stuff at the youth level and really get these kids comfortable with the ball, then I think we have the talent in this country to produce good players.
We do, but the question I have as I'm learning the game more every day is what's our style? Yeah. Is there an American style? Like people think back and you think about Brazil. Like Brazil's got a style. Mexico has a style. Yeah. England has a style. Germany's got a style. And I don't feel like we've really got our style yet. Like Jurgen was he kind of felt like, in my opinion, it was like, all right, we don't have the players to beat you one-on-one, so we're going to sit and we're going to take our chances on countering and try to beat you that way, and we're going to defend the hell out of it. And that led a lot of people kind of unhappy because it just wasn't a very fun way to watch.
We're such a diverse country, man.
Well, and we're used to beating the hell out of everybody, so it's it's very different.
You say that because I feel like, and I'm going to kick myself for saying it because it's not a style that I like, but we're a physical country. Yeah, we have the ability to kick people, dominate them physically, and maybe that is it. I'm not saying that's not what I want, but I'm saying maybe that's our edge. Maybe we're just trying to be something we're not, and it's not working. I don't know. I mean, I also think that when you stop and think about our country and soccer in general versus some of these other global countries, dude, we're still in the infancy stages of, and I say that softly. I think it was 52 or 54 where we made a semifinal of a World Cup. Happenstance, I don't know. There's been
a lot of change worldwide since then, obviously. But no, I kind of agree with you about wanting that style out of it. I think that's what we're used to. Like when you watch USA basketball, you see these big bruising guys that are just going to the hoop hard on everybody, and I think Americans sometimes it feels like there's a little bit of style. Like there's a little, the NBA, the NFL,
Barcelonas of the world, and the Spanish national. And we want to play like them. We're like, we should be able to do that, but we just haven't been able to accomplish it. So,
but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for this next group, and I think as we look back into what I don't know if it's all to Jurgen, but Jurgen did get criticized for how much it felt like he recommended players to go abroad. And you look at Pulisic and Sargent and McKinney and all of these players who did go abroad and are having a ton of success. You might think, hey, maybe some of those choices were good, were the right choices.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know, man. I'm a American outlaw, and I am a huge fan of our country's national team, and win, lose, or draw, I'm always going to support. And but I would get frustrated with some of Jurgen's selections. He was diving heavy into the German league, and some of the players, justified by
Jermaine Jones.
Yeah, some of those players were Fabian.
John Brooks, Fabian Johnson I loved.
Some of those guys were really good, but then there was others where I was just like, I mean, I hate to say this out loud because I mean every player is, but like Chandler for me, Timmy Chandler in the back.
Yeah, I wasn't a big
just
fan.
didn't understand it. Like, and so I would have a hard. It's almost like Fuego now, and the local part of things, and just going outside for players. Now, granted, we did that in the past to like complement the roster, and believe me, people question our decisions as well. It's always going to happen. It's sports, and you have to live and die by those decisions. But I just feel like those players that you just named, next level. We have a good future ahead of us, and the U.S. has to get in the World Cup, dude. We have to get in the World Cup.
I mean, we're 5 years away from having it here.
Dude, we have to get in the Cup.
We've got to be in it, and we've got to be competitive for 22 and 26.
Yeah.
Well, shifting gears a little bit, I mean, Visalia, South Valley.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Visalia. I
Visalia's really
didn't
cool,
grow
man.
up getting to go down to Visalia very often. I think I had a couple games that I played there, and that was about it. So I never really cruised the town. But as an adult, I got to get comfortable with downtown and
It's the crown jewel of the
rookies
valley,
and PhD and all this good stuff. Barrel House, and now
we
Now
have
you.
1852 Visalia coming. It should be late this summer, early fall is what we're shooting for. But it's a street soccer venue. Basically, we will have turf on the ground just for liability with kids and stuff like that. But we're gonna have 3 50-foot wide by 80-foot long street courts. It's 5v5 game, so 4 field players and a goalkeeper, and then connected to the soccer space is
the best
a
part for the
brewery
parents.
and a tap house and a beer garden. So we're
you
gonna
guys
be brewing
are
our own beer.
you guys are brewing your own beer.
Yeah.
How the hell did you figure out how to do that?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, you have to rely on people who know what they're doing. So shout out to Mad Duck; they're helping us out with consultation on our beer, and so we're gonna launch. We're hoping to launch, like I said, in the late summer, early fall. We're gonna have 6 core beers that we're gonna be releasing upon launch.
Any sneak peeks at what's going to be out there?
I mean, we're going to have like a Mexican lager. We're going to have a blonde, a couple of IPAs. Nothing. I don't have anything yet, but once we have some stuff being brewed, then I'm sure we'll be having some tastings and stuff.
We'll do some sampling.
Super exciting. I mean, I would say
It's such a cool concept. Yeah.
I mean, I think Bill Cummings, the Cummings family is my. Bill Cummings Jr. and I have been talking about this for a number of years, probably 5-6 years. I mean, still when Fuego was still around, we were looking to do it in Fresno. Just couldn't find the right land, and the timing was off a little bit. And then we sold Fuego, and all those things were happening. And
Shout out to the Cummings family. They've been on the last 2 podcasts because Diego Casillas was on, and when he went to Reno, he got to spend a lot of time with
Bill Senior.
Yeah, with Bill Senior. So
that's awesome,
love them.
Awesome family, man. They're just they've changed my life, honestly. I mean, I can't thank the Cummings family enough. I mean, I work with Chris, who is the general partner of the Grizzlies and the Fuego. His brother Bill Senior, they took me under their wing, man, and sometimes the Cummings family got a little bit of a bad rap in terms of like the media and stuff of what was going on with the stadium and the city and stuff, but there was never one moment for myself or any other Grizzlies employee that ever worried about like when payroll hit if we were gonna get paid.
No.
And they never allowed some of that noise in the background that would be going on. That we were there to do a job, and it was to connect the community through sport. And they always gave us that platform, and they gave me. I mean, like I said, man, they've changed my life. Like for me, they gave me sweat equity in the Fuego, and that was something that I was very proud of because of the fact that I think we all as individuals try to do our best and work our hardest, and there's performance incentives, whether it's a bonus or whether it's a raise, in your hourly salary or your hourly wage or your annual salary or whatever. But when the group, which included the Alvarez brothers, the Marquez brothers, and the Cummings family, when they sat me down at the board, room table and said, we as a group want to honor you with some sweat equity in the club. And dude, it was a game changer for me, man.
It's something that I believe is a game changer in the business world, because there's a lot of us out there who dedicate our lives to working for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really challenging, even though this is the best country in the world and land of opportunity. It's hard to make significant life changes from your previous generation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of luck involved, and there's a lot of, things that are involved. But when your hard work is rewarded in the terms of someone you working for giving you a piece of their company, I mean, it creates lifelong dedication and commitment. And I think it's such a valuable tool that the business owners can use. And I think, man, it just shows, whatever people say about them, that was an incredible family, an incredible group of people that treated their people well. And I can say the same thing in baseball with the Grizzlies, and what they did with Derek and has been incredible as well. So it's just a good group of people.
And they continue to bless me. Like the 1852 project is not possible without the Cummings family. They're behind that project. When I moved back to Visalia, I was born in Visalia. For those that don't know, I was born there. When I moved back in July of 2018, when I started working for Four Creeks Creative and was contracting with Fresno FC, Bill Sr. and Bill Jr. came and visited Visalia and said, would this be a place that we could do the kind of footy and brews concept? And I believed in it. I'm like, heck yeah, I know this community. We started South Valley United back in 2002. It's continuing to thrive and do well. There's a huge adult landscape, healthy soccer, for men, women, co-ed, the whole thing. And then you have other youth organizations in the area. I think it's a great place for the project to land.
Real quick, for people listening that may not be from the Valley, could you describe the differences of Visalia and Fresno? There's definitely a different vibe to the city than.
It's funny because the downtown is probably the ideal downtown for what every other city in the Valley is trying to,
mid-sized city, small city. Yeah.
What I've always and I appreciate it more now that I'm older. I lived in Visalia again from 1998 to 2008. It's when I met my wife Cherie, and kind of basically
love you, Cherie.
I love you, babe.
Shout out, girl.
Couldn't do any of this without her. So, I couldn't. I was young, but I was starting my family basically then. I appreciate it more now than probably ever before. Visalia's strategy in their city itself, it's almost built into quadrants, and every quadrant has areas of affluency and some poverty, and so it's like every area is helping each other out almost, and downtown has always been the core. Whether you're 16 years old and going and having a cup of coffee and hanging out at the yogurt shop, or having lunch or what have you, or you're a 20-something that's bar hopping, or you're a 30 or 40-something that's taking your wife out to dinner, or going out with a group of buddies, or whatever it is, everybody starts in downtown. And you want to go from your house, you want to come into downtown, you want to enjoy the restaurants and the vibe that is down there, and then you can go along your merry way. But Visalia has done such a good job of keeping that core, that there's a culture and a vibe. I laugh sometimes because sometimes I'll be sitting on one of the patios of the restaurants or what have you, and I'm like, I feel like this is the coast without the beach, you have that relaxed, casual, everybody knows everybody. So, as people were walking by, you're saying, hi, how are you? It's just it's
kind of a perfect size city.
It is. It's a special place. And so, shout out to my company. I work for the Four Creeks. It's
almost forgot there.
No, I was gonna say Four Creeks Inc., but everybody knows them as Four Creeks, and we're just going through a bunch of different changes in terms of the department that I work in.
Shout out to Eric.
That I'll share. Yeah, Eric Riley, my creative director. He's a CEO now, so
Is he really?
I'll share.
Wow.
I'll share real quick.
Congrats.
Four Creeks is an amazing company. Young entrepreneurs as owners, and just a vibrant, community-centric company that has grown over the last 11 years. With
One of
just
the coolest
some
office
dynamic
spaces
people, dude.
I've seen.
Just a cool company. If you
It's
haven't
great.
already, look them up, man. They're awesome.
Yep.
They're rebuilding things, and we have a construction company. We have the engineering, surveying, planning, utility design. You name it, it's in house. And so, my department, Four Creeks Creative. We just recently acquired another agency. So we're a marketing agency, an agency called DMI Agency, which has been around for years as well. And we're launching the brand Topograph. Mm-hmm. So I'm now going to be
Topography,
working
like
for,
I put in the email.
So we're branding and marketing guides. We help you get from point A to point B, and we're more strategist in helping companies with their marketing and Eric Riley, our CEO, he's now the CEO of the company. We're still a family. We're in the family of businesses with Four Creeks, but now DMI and Four Creeks Creative have come together, and so it's an exciting time for me on that side of things because so many more doors are going to open outside of just the sporting capacity for me to be able to connect businesses with opportunity of advertising and marketing and. I don't know. It's just a fun company and good people, man.
They are, and it's been a blessing for us to have you guys as a resource and a partner. Yeah. Somebody rooted in the South Valley, a sounding board for us in our market, in anything, in everything. Yeah. And it's been a blessing to be able to partner with the local company and have incredible people in house that have helped us put all this together.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, shout out to you guys, man, and Nathan. Nathan's amazing, man.
Just had a new baby this morning.
Oh, congrats to him, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we got another child that's born of the Fuego.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Yeah. So here's a little recap. So just for those that wonder what the heck I do now. So I'm the president of South Valley United. So that was a club that we founded, myself and about 6 other guys, back in 2002. So when I moved back to Visalia, I took on the president role again. So I'm the president of South Valley United, the youth club. I work as the director of business development for Topograph, which we work with you guys. And I'll be working very hard on corporate partnerships and things like that for the club to bring some of the book that has worked with soccer in the past, but then also bringing in new partners for Fuego. And then,
so if you're a business owner, if you are somebody who works for a company in marketing and you want to get your name out there and you want to collaborate with the Fuego,
this is the place.
Get a hold of Jeremy.
You can connect with me and we'll help guide you through the process to make sure that you partner with us. And then the last thing, I shouldn't say last thing, but the other thing that I'm focused on and doing is I'm a partner, owner, operator of 1852 Visalia, which is a footy and brews concept, and we will have 3 street soccer courts and a full brewery in downtown
that's exciting.
Visalia.
Yeah, that's so exciting. That concept of having indoor soccer and a brewery all together and kind of bringing the community together and having entertainment and your own beer, it's
going to be fun,
awesome.
Man. There's an incredible vibe down in the South Valley about it launching and coming to fruition and getting out there. And I've told Bill several times, I've said, my life goal is to get 3 of them. I have 3 daughters, and so I want to be able. We talked about it. It's hard to pass things. It's hard to get out of your social status. I've been middle class for forever, and I'm that's what I am. And but we're always striving to leave something for the next generation, for our family. And so I've told Bill several times, my goal before I pass is to have 3 of these facilities in the valley that I can give one to each of my daughters that, they can hopefully own, operate, or sell the shares or what have you.
It's a hell of a goal. I think when we sit here and we talk, it's just the reason that we always connect is because our minds are just always going on how to create things and how to leave something behind and how to make something bigger than ourselves. And it's something I always really think about is family is extremely important, and that always comes first. Your relationship with your maker and whatever else you've got going on that you believe in, that's up there, And after that, it's what things can we do to leave this a better place or to pass something greater on to the next generation? What can we build that can be bigger than us? And it takes an army and it takes a team. And I think there's so many people that have been involved in this so far. And I'm so excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I mean, you hit it on the head. I mean, I've told my family forever when they get frustrated with me with like long hours or like I can't get my head out of my computer at time. You get in those moments of like you're just moving. You got the vibe is there, and you're selling something, or you're making a good connection, or you have an idea or a concept that you really feel like is good for a partner or what have you, and you just can't put it down. Your mind just goes and goes and goes. And I'm like, it's all about the future, and it's all about like creating something special. And it's, I think we all work hard to leave a legacy. When you're gone, you hope that people remember you for the positive things that you did. And the soccer has been a tool. It's been a platform for me to connect with community. And you want to leave something special behind. And you look at Fire Squad Fresno 2014, and there was so many people in that kind of sphere of social circle that I wouldn't have connected with outside of soccer. And shout out to Jordan Wiebe, because Wiebe was like such a key guy in putting all that together. And I remember we came back from Florida from the league meetings, and
great story. Yeah. And I don't know how I can dance around this lightly, but we had it was the first time for me as a professional that I got to go somewhere. Yeah. I didn't grow up with a crazy ton of resources to go all over the country or all over the world. I hadn't really traveled. I hadn't really been out of the state other than once. Yeah. And I get to go on this trip with Jeremy Schultz to Tampa, Florida, to Clearwater Beach, and we get there and we have a good time.
Oh, we tie one on early.
we got after it early, and I remember we were kind of bar hopping or whatever, going around having drinks with all the different people in the conference. Amazing USL conference, super fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
Got to meet a lot of really cool people. Went out with Adrian Heath. Remember that night? We had a good time. Good time with him, doing American accents with his super strong. It was great. But
Ranbir was with us all night
Ranbir
too.
was there.
Yeah.
Dustin. Yeah. So you and I get split up somehow.
Yeah.
And I get back to the room, and you're a heavy sleeper.
Did you have to sleep in the hallway?
So heavy sleeper. Yeah. And I knock on the, well, I had the key, so I put the key in.
It latched.
You put the hotel latch. And so I'm stuck outside of the door, and all I hear is,
"Welcome to Tampa, Chris."
Yeah. It's 2 a.m. I want to just go to bed. And I just hear you snoring, and I'm trying to throw things in to like hit you and wake you up. And I have to have this maintenance man come detach the hotel room lock with a screwdriver and let me in.
That is hilarious.
It was a good time. Yeah. But on the plane ride back, we had this discussion of like,
we had met with a Red Bulls guy and talked about supporters. Right. And
that's true. Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah. And we were just like, what's got to be our number one goal next year? And what do we need to accomplish? And we just talked about supporter club. Like we know there's a bunch of these groups out there in Fresno and around.
At 4 a.m. watching the EPL
super
games.
Early. Yeah, Peeves, and I think Chelsea might have been at Hook.
Yeah. In Manchester United, I think at that time they were meeting at Club 1. I mean,
right. So there was some groups around. There was a small little like Sounders group. There was Ponchevilla's Army. There was like a few different groups, and we were like, man, we got to find a way to try to just get them to talk to each other. Yeah. And we had that meeting with the 4 of us or 5. Peeves. It might have been 5 of us at Peeves with Jordan there. And man, the rest is history. Like they took that bull by the horns and haven't looked back.
We thought it was going to be like a more sales, like, come on, get, like, I know we're an amateur team of local players, but like it was
like nearly 100 people showed up at the first match. Yeah. And it's funny.
They marched from Peeves the first game.
It was a long way. They were tired by the time they got in.
For 20 minutes
before. It progressively got louder.
Those poor guys.
And the second thing I was going to mention earlier that always sticks out to me about those years at Chukchansi Park is when Fire Squad took over the bleachers.
Yeah.
And they were up on top, and
above
Tex
the
was
corner.
there, like, yelling at people to being an idiot.
Jared Bruce was our first capo.
Jared. No, wasn't it?
Steve Mayu.
Gosh.
But Jared Bruce was like the first guy on the megaphone that, like, that poor guy was so hoarse for like 3 days after every game.
I believe it.
Like, but dude, those guys were troopers.
They went
Here's
hard.
what's crazy, and I don't even know if this is like we're supposed to do this, but I remember before games we would be putting together our season ticket holder like packages, and squad would just want to come into Jordan and I's office and help.
They just helped.
Dude, they were like, we want to help. Like, we
Yeah.
want to have a few beers, and we want to eat some pizza, and we want to hang out with you guys.
I think
and
I
let's
remember
talk
Nairi,
soccer,
like, in the
Nairi
the
and Steven
baseball.
and Josh Hodges
I
and
was
Yulin.
like, what are you doing in here?
Dude, these guys were just like, I mean, they were the best, like, street team
Incredible.
that just loved the club, and they, I mean, you can't stop thanking, like, people when the names start coming to your head, but, like,
and
I mean,
it's
there's so many
and
people,
it's
man.
grown and it's expanded and it's evolved, and now you've got people like, you know, Vicente at Escuadron,
Escuadron,
and
yeah, and
Chris at
Vigilantes and Skulk,
Yeah,
and-
Vigilantes are out there. I mean, all of those guys are incredible, and they're doing their own little things in their own pockets and super supporting. And I saw Escuadron, we reposted their thing about Fresno State's going to allow
against
some
Boise
fans back
coming
in.
Is that this Sunday, April 4th?
I think so.
Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. Maybe next weekend.
Okay.
I don't know.
Tomorrow's the 1st, dude. It's this weekend.
Is it?
Because
Yeah.
it's April 4th.
Yeah. So that's great. So, I mean, they've been drumming outside of the fence.
Oh, man.
I swear,
but
on
how
the street.
dedicated are they to just be there
On the
and
street.
support the girls, man?
I remember
awesome.
like a few weeks ago, they were outside drumming out. They asked if they could come in. They weren't allowed to because of COVID protocol.
Yeah.
So they were out on Barstow Avenue drumming behind the trees, trying to like peek in just to, and the girls heard them, you know, Z heard them.
awesome,
Like,
man.
it's incredible that this community has evolved even beyond Fuego,
Yeah.
and it's truly become supportive of all the different groups. And man, it's really cool to see what our supporter clubs,
Dude, the
what they
supporter
do.
culture here. I've been fortunate to, as a player, as a coach, as a GM, travel this whole country, see soccer at every level across the country. When I was younger, I went to Europe. Like, dude, our supporters culture is as good as any.
Mm-hmm.
It is as good as any. And I think that as this comes back home, as Fuego comes back home, you're going to find that people appreciate something more since it's been gone for a while than we even realize. And that, the stadium, you know, if, you know, we're all praying that the stadium thing comes. Dude, it reminded me, if you watch, like, Remember the Titans, the Disney movie about American football, after games with Fuego, when we'd walk across the street and go into Tioga Sequoia's beer garden, and the fans would be there drinking beer, and it always took the players and the staff, you know, an extra hour to shower and go through all of our meetings and all that stuff before we get out of the locker room. And when we'd walk into Tioga Sequoia's beer garden, and the fans would just light up and start chanting and, like, giving everybody an applause, and, like, win, lose, or draw, those fans were behind us. And I would always get just goosebumps and emotional, because it was like, man, this is what it's about. Like, there's a connection here that is incredibly deep, and these people just love the club, you know. And that was year in and year out. It wasn't like player specific. It was rooted around the brand and the club, and the fact that they stood by us in good days and bad days, and that meant a lot to us as staff and as players and as owners, that we had a fan base like that.
Jeremy, thank you.
Thank you.
Close
brother.
that out on that. Well said. Couldn't
I
do
do
any
want
better.
to say one thing. I need to give a shout out to my family, because at the end of the day, for me, none of this is possible. You know, my wife Cherie, I just got back from an anniversary
Happy
trip
anniversary.
this weekend. Thank you. So we went over to the Central Coast, had some wine, and the girls met us on Sunday. So we were there Friday, Saturday, just my wife and I, and then Sunday, Monday, my kids came over, and you know, I have an 18-year-old daughter now that's going to college, and you know, we talked about the fact that they grew up in this club, but none of this was possible without them. My wife, bless her heart, man, she is just like, she's a soldier, and there's long hours, you know, in sports, like you don't come home until late at night, and it doesn't end at game time. It ends at stadium clean, and then it is usually extended to go hang out with the fans and like put in your time to like connect with the people that are investing in your club. And it was never ending, you know. And she just she sacrificed a lot of my time with our family, and my kids sacrificed a lot of me not being around. But I hope that they're proud of what's taken place in this community, and the fact that, you know, that scarf says for City and Club, and that was something that we believed in around Fresno, and now you're launching it into for Valley and Club, which I think is brilliant, because this club is for the whole Valley. And being the fact that I'm back in Visalia in the South Valley area, we're going to be your number one ambassadors for growth in that area. But I want to thank Chloe, my oldest daughter, my middle daughter Bailey, and Addison, my little girl. Like, those kids are my rock, man.
It's incredible what families of people who work in sports go through. It seems like it's the coolest job in the world, and the moment I found out that this was actually a thing, it was my dream.
Yeah.
But your families go through it with you too, and it's a team effort. Like, and I know, for me, Andrea's been, and she's my rock, she's my partner, and everything that I talk about as far as ideas and all of those things, I always bounce it off of her, and she's brilliant when it comes to how to capture an audience. She's an expert at that. And so I think that our families go undervalued a lot of times, and they're so important. And you have an incredible family. I mean, Cherie's like a big sister to me. Your kids are like nieces to me. Yeah. But it's really important for everyone out there. If you see our spouses out there, our families out there, thank them, because they go through a lot of it with us. They lift us up and they support us. And there's a lot of my family I don't get to see as often as I want to, but every time we see them, it's like we've never skipped a day, and we love them and support them. So
there's
definitely
a sense of optimism with fans. Like, if you have a tough loss at the ballpark and you walk across the Tioga and everybody's down, we have a tendency to lift each other up, and there's optimism about tomorrow. You're going to be better tomorrow. You're going to be better tomorrow. But when you get home within your walls, there is that sense of depression a little bit. That just sports are an emotional roller coaster, man.
We let the community down. We let each other down.
Everybody down. And so, who wears that the most is your spouse and your family and your kids. And so that's where it's like, that's where you let your guard down a little bit as a human, and you're like, man, we just weren't good enough tonight, and that falls on me as the GM or what have you. And so it's like, it's so challenging for them to have to deal with the emotions that we bring home as part of a team. And so they've learned to manage that.
It's such an for me, it's my mind gets going a million miles an hour. I'll call you and have a bunch of freaking ideas and like go. I need that person to kind of bring me back down to earth and say, hey, slow your horses, relax a little bit and focus on what needs to get done, and that keeps you on track. And so it's great that we have partners in life that do that for us, and we're super thankful to them and appreciative to them, and shout out to them
for sure.
All right, well, thank you, Jeremy Schultz, El Show. Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
All right, see you guys.
All right,
adios.